weekend news, we talk about the second Vampire Survivors expansion, PlayStation's showcase in June, Nintendo fixing all Joy-Con drift for free in Europe, and Tears of the Kingdom gameplay. Extra, you're all about it!
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast that, well, has kind of lost its way. I'm the Dean of Games, the Dean Slater on all platforms. You'll notice that Matthew's not with us today, and that's because I just ended my vacation, so I'm still very unprepared, and I apologize about that. It's a great vacation. I have gotten a couple things in the works that I'm excited about that I promise are not going to affect this podcast. It's just I was also relaxing. But from Twitch's graveyard, we have Gavin!
Hola.
How are you doing?
I'm tired.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That tracks.
Mm-hmm.
This is Extra, your weekly gaming news podcast covering the news leading up to Sunday, April 2nd, 2022. Or, not 2022, 2023. What the fuck? 2022 is like 4 months ago. Crazy. If you like us, you can go to patreon.com/thebriefing-room. Let's get to some news. Okay, so first things first. The elephant in the room. The thing that has not been, not talked about, and Gavin, if you want to say a few words for your eulogy, that's fine too, but E3 Electronic Entertainment Expo is dead. And that ends our customary moment of silence. The ESA, the Electronic Software Association, just for a recap, has been throwing E3 this entire time. And they've had some issues with several canceled shows of late. So they paired up with ReedPop, who does the PAX conventions, as well as several other types of conventions, to organize E3 for this year. And then over the last several months, we've been getting more and more stories of Nintendo's not going to join E3, Xbox is not going to join E3, Sony's not going to join E3, Ubisoft, they're like, yeah, we're going to be at E3, and then they're like, just kidding, we're not going to be at E3. EA has not been at E3 in like 7 years, so it's no surprise they're not going to be at E3. But after all of that, they finally announced, just a couple months shy of when the event was supposed to happen, that it is not happening. In their statement, they said, "This was a difficult decision because of all the effort we and our partners put towards making this event happen, but we've had to do what is right for the industry and what is right for E3. We appreciate and understand that the interested companies wouldn't have had playable demos ready, and that resourcing challenges made E3 this summer an obstacle they couldn't overcome. for those who did commit to E3 2023, we're sorry we can't put on the showcase you deserve and that you've come to expect from Reed Pop event experiences. And then Jeff Keighley. Oh my god. Jeff Keighley just, I don't know what the ESA said to Jeff at any time a while ago, but ever since he announced he was no longer gonna participate at E3, he anytime there's bad news, he immediately tweets out. And so when the E3 announced that 2023 was going to be canceled, Jeff Keighley almost immediately was like, hey, you know what's not canceled? Summer Game Fest. Come join us on, June whatever. But yeah, what do you think of E3, and do you have a few words about it?
I never really watched E3. That was one of my little brother's thing.
Yeah. For me, I loved E3. I loved having just a solid week where it's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, like just constant build up and just hype. And me and Landon have talked about this on the podcast quite a bit throughout our this podcast, because E3 has not happened since this podcast has started. And even then they had a couple times where they canceled on before that, but they, as much as I like the week of hype over the drip feed that happens now, that's me speaking exclusively as a fan. Because for actual video game journalists that, the ones that actually get paid to do this, E3, they were just up constantly. Like, they would get very little sleep that entire week because they had to write up stories for everything that was announced that entire week. And then they had to do, their networking with, devs so they can build up that trust so that later they can, pull the dev aside for an interview or for, to get an answer on a story. And then on the dev side, again, watching that Psychonauts documentary, the Psychodicy documentary, when they did their E3, like, even just trailer, I don't remember if they did have a playable demo. Yeah, that stopped them from actually working on the game for well over 3 weeks of just them stopping everything just to work on E3 stuff. And so, like, even for the devs, it's costing them because they can't make the game and they have to, it's better for everyone that's actually getting paid in the industry for E3 not to exist per se. The networking stuff you can still do at other conventions, such as PAX, such as at GDC. Like, there's plenty of places where that networking can still happen. But, like, having the drip feed is better for everyone, just in general, I think industry-wide. So, it's sad. I still will have my memories of watching G4 cover, E3, but I don't know that there's coming back from this, and I don't know that E3 is necessary anymore. So, anyway, Here's a fun little story that happened on April Fool's Day, so everyone thought it was a joke at first, but it's not a joke. Sega released a surprise Sonic murder mystery game for free. The game is called The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, and it is now downloadable on Steam. It's Amy Rose's birthday, and she's hosting a mystery party on the Mirage Express. When Sonic becomes the game's victim, everyone is off to get to the bottom of things. However, something feels a bit off. Is this really an innocent game, or is something more sinister afoot? But yeah, so it's a murder mystery, and Sonic's the one that got murdered. Got murked. And so you can play as I don't know who you actually play as, if I'm being honest. I haven't actually tried playing the game yet. I have downloaded it, and I am ready to play it at any point in time. But yeah, what do you think of Sonic getting murked?
About damn time.
Wow.
No, I love Sonic, but I'm surprised. I'm honestly surprised with how much Sonic content there is that it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, like, it's not surprising with what they it's not surprising with what they normally do. Like, Sonic Team is not afraid of trying some interesting things.
They're in that meeting room coming up with ideas like, okay, we haven't had anything Sonic related in a while that's actually good. What do we do? We've done everything we can. What do we do? And they're like, hear me out. What if we just fucking kill them?
Yeah. And just on top of that, a murder mystery, like, I love me a good point and click murder mystery type game. So a little background on me, right? I used to want to be a detective, and then I found out that in real life detectives are associated with the police, and fuck the police. But yeah, no, I as a child I read a bunch of the Hardy Boys mystery novels. I read I read Nancy Drew. Like, I'm not afraid of a woman being smarter than me. I read the Nancy Drew novels. I read there was like a homeschool detective club thing. I never did read any of the other like, I think there's a Babysitter Club detective series. I didn't watch any of that, or read any of that. But yeah, I was all about like these kinds of mysteries and stuff, and so I've played a couple of mystery games. I like them. They're few and far between, and like they're always really obscure, so I never hear about them to play them. So I am excited, super excited for this. I cannot wait. How do you feel about mystery games?
Well, I think the only mystery kind of game I've ever played was Heavy Rain.
Oh yeah, Heavy Rain.
And I loved Heavy Rain, but I don't think I've played any other mystery games other than that.
Jason!
Jason! I mean, unless you want to like include the Arkham games with the detective mode, but that's not really.
Yeah, I don't know that. I love the Arkham games too. I don't know. There's a couple of Arkham like side missions that I might consider like detective mode. Like there was in Arkham City, there was a bunch of murders, and you had to figure out who was the murderer, and so you'd follow bullet trajectory and so forth, and turns out it was Deadshot.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had this big fight with him, and then I think in Arkham Knight, there was a bunch of people that were murdered, and you would find their murdered bodies next to like classical music, and then it was this pig man that was trying to perform surgery on them to make them beautiful, and like it was a strange one, but I would kind of consider that a mystery too. But as the games, no, just maybe specific side quests in the games. But yeah, let's see. I like I said, I have it downloaded on Steam. It's just a matter of finding time to play it, because I am all about the game I've been playing over the last couple weeks. If you want to hear about that, go to patreon.com/thebriefingroom and listen to our back pages. Okay. So, Super Mario movie, mostly positive reactions. Ooh, here's a good quote. Kinda Funny's Tim Geddes wrote, "The Super Mario Brothers movie was awesome. Teared up from hype more than once. The music is the star of the show. Nintendo fans are going to be obsessed. I'm not sure any movie in history has ever had this many Easter eggs, and good ones."
Mm-hmm.
Kit and Krista of the Kit and Krista podcast said, "We just got out of the movie. Oh my god, it was incredible. Such a love letter to the whole decades and decades of Mario. This movie that you're going to see a lot of times, because it was just that little reference. I think we all missed some." Filmmaker DeAndre Aviles said it was perfect and gave it a 10 out of 10. I haven't felt this way for an animated movie since the Lego movie. Which is pretty impressive, because Lego movie was great too. And it was similar, where initially people were like, yeah, Lego movie, just like people were like, yeah, Mario movie. And then they ended up being really good, apparently. So, how do you feel about the Mario movie?
I'll probably end up watching it eventually. I watched a video the other day of Jacksepticeye playing Mario Kart with the cast of the Mario movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Did Chris Pratt go, "You Buzz"?
Gosh. Oh.
I just love that clip. Smashing "You Buzz" as if it's like a dirty word, or like you can find my reaction on youtube.com at the XofPlays. I reacted to one of the first, I think actually it was the first trailer for the Mario movie. And like before they showed the first trailer, they had Jack Black, or not, yeah, it was Jack Black, and it was Chris Pratt talking about, their previous experiences. And when he said that, like, my face scrunched up, and someone actually was like, "Your face when he says Koopas." It's like, man, it was cringe, bro.
Have you seen the clip of like the cast of the Mario movie was getting like interviewed for shit, and they were like talking about something, and like somebody asked Jack Black, is like, it's like, she's like, "So were you excited about playing Bowser?" And then like it cuts to him, and he's in a fucking Bowser costume. He's like,
Oh,
"Yeah, it's pretty cool."
So I did see that clip, and something that was pointed out to me as I was watching the clip, and now I can't unsee it anytime that clip's shown up. That Bowser costume that Jack Black was wearing, and I'm glad he's happy about being in the movie and so forth. But it's small and showed everything. I'm just throwing that out there. If you don't want to have any imagination about Jack Black and what he's packing, here we go. Nintendo will now fix all drifting Joy-Cons in the UK and EEA, even if they're out of warranty. It now extends to the EEA, which is the EU plus Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway. I apologize for any mispronunciation. The UK and Switzerland. Until further notice, Nintendo will not charge you for the repair of unresponsive syndrome, irrespective of whether this is caused by defect or by wear and tear. The only exceptions to this are if the issue is caused by a third-party accessory, accidental damage or negligence, or if someone has already opened up the controller. Joy-Con drift has affected the Switch since its launch. And despite revisions in the Joy-Con internals, it's a problem that reportedly persists even with the newly issued Joy-Con controllers. An ex-employee told Kotaku that easily thousands of Joy-Cons were coming through the repair center each week. We ended up having to set up an entire new workspace just for Joy-Con repair. Customers who sent in faulty Joy-Cons from 2017 to 2018 were just sent new replacements, but after the first year, it's claimed the repair center was required to repair every set. So I have 3 sets of Joy-Cons and only 1 set of Joy-Con. It's actually not Joy-Cons. It's the plural of Joy-Con is Joy-Con, according to Nintendo. Because they're weird and stuff. But I have 3 sets of Joy-Con, and only 1 set actually works right now because of drift. And it just kind of sucks. And the fact that, like, they won't go out of their way to acknowledge that it's actually a problem. Like, anytime, like, there was a whole civil lawsuit against them, like, and they were like, no, it's not a problem. The number of Nintendo Switch systems out in the wild compared to the number of Joy-Con being reported having this issue shows that it's just like, shut up. It's an issue and you know it. But yeah, that's great. I wish they would extend that to other areas. It does exist in North America as well, if you want to send them in. But yeah, it's just a whole other thing because there's shipping and all that stuff too. So it's just a headache, and I wish they would just find a way of fixing it. But how do you feel about drift?
Well, I mean, I've obviously spent way too much money on controllers just because of fucking drift. but
Yeah.
just kind of comes with the territory of playing games at this point.
Yeah. Well, you got to think, like I said, I have 3 sets now, and 2 of the sets have drift. Each set is $80.
Yeah.
So that's $240 I have spent because drift has happened. But yeah.
I mean, have you tried anything to fix it?
So we had a former coworker tell me he had fixed 2 sets himself by ordering them on Amazon or whatever, and you know that there's like this kit you can order on Amazon for like $20, and it'll fix it. It has instructions on how to open them up and how to fix the problem, and it has everything you need. And
Right.
I was planning on doing that, but my thing is, if that's not the issue, then I'm kind of out, because Nintendo will no longer fix them because I've opened them up myself.
Right.
And so it's one of those things where damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
And honestly, it would just be better if they just fixed it. So, anyway, we talked earlier about Summer Game Fest. Sony will hold a showcase ahead of Summer Game Fest. So this is according to Jeff Grubb, well-known person in the industry. He's currently at Giant Bomb. It would be held before the Summer Game Fest event on June 8th, which then the Xbox and Bethesda showcase is on the 11th, and Ubisoft is on the 12th of June. So we're all still sticking to, despite E3 not being around, everyone's sticking to the same week at the moment. So how do you feel about PlayStation and them having a showcase on the 8th and it being before Summer Game Fest?
I mean, I'll probably hear all about it from my little brother, but I probably won't watch it.
Oh, come on. You could watch it with me.
It's not something I'm interested. I'm not. I enjoy games, and I'm into games in the sense that when I find a game I like, I'll keep up with the news and stuff about it. But like stuff like game showcases, shit like that, I just don't care for it.
Well, that's no fun. You gotta get into the hype.
Nah. Have we met? I am not a hype person.
We'll make you a hype person yet. Me and Landon, we're gonna tag team you. Tag team you so hard.
I might get hyped for that.
We'll have Daniel film.
I forgot. I was like, Daniel. I forgot.
Anyway. Here's a fun one. Have you heard of Vampire Survivors yet? I know you're a big vampire guy.
I don't think so.
Oh man, you're in for a thing. I'm pretty sure their Vampire Survivors is already on PlayStation. I think it's on PlayStation 4. It's like $3. It's not bad at all. And it is a bullet hell roguelike where you play where you shoot up vampires and stuff. And it was like a indie darling that had a lot of talk at the Game Awards. But they announced their second DLC pack, which will introduce new characters, a fresh stage, additional weapons, and other features. I'm gonna pull up a trailer for Vampire Survivors for you. I'm gonna send it to you. But yeah, so it's just really cool that, you know, this developer, you know, had as much success as they did. It's cool that they've let's see. There we go. Hold on. There we go. It's just cool that they've had the success that they've had. It's cool that they've managed to you know, expand on that and put out like DLC packs and stuff. It's such a cool art style, and it I'll be honest, like the way the game looks, like if I didn't know that it was vampires you're fighting, it almost feels like a zombie horde, like the way the enemies, you know, are. It almost more feels like it should be zombies, but instead it's vampires. So, Are you watching it right now?
No, I'll watch it later, but like just based off of like what you're talking about, I'm probably gonna end up giving it a shot when I can afford to.
Yeah. But let's see. Any other? Let me go here real quick. Oh yeah, you know what? It's not really a story. Well, I guess it did come out after our thing. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about Tears of the Kingdom because I'm super hyped for that game. They showed off 10 minutes of gameplay. The game comes out May 12th. And so they showed off 3 new powers. Recall, which allows you to... we've seen it a couple times now in the various trailers. But it allows you to rewind certain objects. So the first time we saw it, Link rewound a giant metal spike ball that an enemy had pushed down a hill at him. Mm-hmm. And he rewound it and had it roll back up at the enemy that pushed it down. And then another trailer showed what Eiji Onuma, the producer, was showing in this gameplay trailer, which there are new sky islands in this game. And that's basically how they've expanded the world. I'm sure there's other differences, but it's using the same map from Breath of the Wild, but they've added some stuff, including these sky islands, and that's where a lot of the new content, I feel, is probably going to be. But there's pieces falling off of these sky islands down to the earth. So it shows him run over, climb on this rock piece, and rewind it, and basically use it as a rock elevator to get to the sky islands. And then they reveal weapon durability is back, which had a lot of people talking about how much they hate weapon durability. I'll be honest, I don't have a problem with weapon durability. And that's something I'll get to here in a minute. I'm going to go on quite the rant about some of the things. That was leading up to showing another new ability called Fuse, in which you can fuse items to your weapons. So initially they showed off he had just a stick from a tree, and it only takes 3 hits, hitting an enemy 3 times with the stick for it to break. But he fused a boulder to the stick, and it did more damage, and now it has better durability. And then he showed you can fuse elemental stuff to arrows, which allows you to use the an arrow in an elemental way, which they already had elemental arrows, so I'm not sure why you would need to do that per se, but you can fuse like ice balls to your arrows and make ice arrows. And then he showed off there's these bats, and when you kill them, you get their eye in the game. And so now you can fuse that eye to your arrow, and it becomes a tracking arrow, a homing arrow.
Cool.
So yeah, so now you can just go and kill a shit ton of bats, get a bunch of eyes, and you never have to worry about missing ever again. And then, and he said there's plenty of other things. Enemies can use fused weapons now too. It showed an enemy using a raft that was fused to a stick, and used it basically as a fan to blow him off of the Sky Island back down to the surface. There was he fused a wooden spear with a pitchfork to make an extra long spear. Like, it doubled the size of the spear. It's like, bro, that is intense. And it also looked totally ridiculous when it was put away on his back. And then he fused a log with a spear, and it looked like a giant rolling pin. Then he showed another ability, which is called it's called Ultra Hand, and we've seen how you use this ability without knowing about the ability in previous trailers. Like the last one I talked about, Link was in a car and in a plane, and it's like, what's going on? Well, turns out this ability, Ultra Hand, is how you do it. You basically can put a bunch of materials together, and as long as you have some sort of mode to move, in this case, in this demonstration, it was fans. As long as you have some way of moving, you can just attach different things together and make yourself a boat, or a car, or a plane. And it looks like the modes of propulsion have battery life, and depending on how you use them, there is how quickly they'll deplete their battery. I'm not sure if there's some way of expanding the batteries of these things later, but yeah, so those were the 3 abilities they showed off. Oh no, there was one more ability, Ascend. They showed off an ability called Ascend, where he said there are some exceptions, didn't go into the exceptions, but if you're in any place with a roof, you can use Ascend and just end up on top. So in the case that he showed, there's a cliff face he couldn't climb up because he didn't have enough stamina, but it had a cave. So he went into the cave, used Ascend, and ended up on top of this rock face. And he mentioned, just remember that if you ever find yourself trapped in a cage. It's like, okay. Note to self, cage. So yeah, and that was a lot of the gameplay. And he said there's so many changes. If you went into all the changes, they'd be there all day, which is exciting. Now, weapon durability and dungeons and all this other stuff that people have been complaining about. I love traditional Zelda as much as the next guy. Zelda is my favorite franchise. I've said that multiple times. There are 18 mainline Zelda games that have the traditional formula if you want it. But they've said that they've been wanting to, for a while now, change the Zelda formula. And so weapon durability makes sense for what the gameplay style this is. This is much more action heavy, and having to monitor your weapons and everything. It makes sense for the gameplay. And then dungeons, honestly, Breath of the Wild sold so much more than any other Zelda game has ever sold. If they put in dungeons, I would love it. But I have a feeling it's going to be more of the same, if I'm being honest. And I think games from now on, until things start not selling, I think things are just going to keep going that same way, because they're trying to bring in a new audience. Again, Zelda games have been fairly successful. I would say it's one of Nintendo's most successful franchises, just in general. But Zelda has never done Mario numbers until Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is when Zelda started doing Mario numbers. They are trying to bring in new audience. If you're not growing your audience, and I've said this about Pokemon too, you can lump Pokemon in this too. If you are not growing your audience, you are losing your audience. Because the old fans, yes, are going to want what they love about the old games. They're going to want that. But they're also getting older, and they're going to start dying off. And if you're not bringing in a new audience, then you're going to lose. That's the facts.
Because I was washing a pot and pan, I didn't want to fuck up the recording, and then I just hear just the old fans are going to start dying off, and I was like, God damn.
It's going to happen. Listen, my grandpa got me into model trains like Lionel, all this stuff. That was a big issue.
They're dying off.
That was the big issue that Lionel had for a long time, is they just and just model trains in general. I'm just naming Lionel because that's what I grew up with. But model trains, that was a problem that they had. It was that they were not making changes. They were it was more of the same all the time. And they ended up losing money because they started losing their fan base, because either the fan base got bored or the fan base died off, and they weren't bringing in new fans.
You people don't understand. You people don't understand how much this man loves trains.
Yeah, I mean, I love video games too. I'm just saying, people, like, the people getting mad don't understand that. You have to constantly be growing your audience. And Breath of the Wild grew their audience more than they've ever grown their audience. So yes,
Honestly,
Breath of the Wild.
I'm surprised Choo Choo Charles isn't your favorite game of all time.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought about buying Choo Choo Charles, but I'm not a horror game guy. So
if you and me had a child, Choo Choo Charles would be their favorite game of all time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Horror means hell yeah.
But yeah, no. I'm sorry to break this to you guys. I'm gonna end the podcast saying this. Sorry to break it to you guys, but Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom is the new Zelda formula. And if you don't like that formula, then maybe Zelda isn't for you anymore. You still have 18 traditional Zelda games that you can play. It's that simple. Because they have more success with this formula than the previous formula. And that's how I'm going to leave the podcast, with this vitriol. But if you liked, or even if you didn't like this podcast, make sure to do all of the things, like hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, and hitting the bell at the XofPlays on YouTube, or giving it a high rating on whatever podcast service you use so you can find like-minded people. Be sure to tell people about the show. Word of mouth is the best way to help us grow. And I brought it up before, but on patreon.com you can financially support the show and get cool rewards as well. That's all from us. Take care.
Choo choo.